Hey guys, it's another beautiful day here in the southern Philippines, and I'm at a beach resort today. The tide's out. I'll turn it around and show you just a little bit. It's really windy, so I'm hoping this dead cat will allow me to talk without you hearing a bunch of wind. So today the topic I want to talk about is after over a year being on the road and being in the Philippines for the amount of time I have, there are some really surprising things about why it is so much more stress-free and why the stress bleeds off of you from the West. And part of it is just checking out of Western society. And I want to talk about those issues and how it actually affects your stress, how it affects just, your outlook on life. So let's get into those. So the first thing is, when you are in the United States, you are constantly being bombarded with media, with the news, with CNN, with Fox News, with MSNBC. And all of the time you're being told about everything that is going on domestically, and those news stories are not meant to make you happy. They're not meant to make you feel good. They're meant to enrage you, because if they make you mad, that translates into you watching more and more and more. And the more you watch, the more viewers they have, the more advertising dollars. So they're not going to be giving you stories that are going to be making you feel good. Instead, it's all generally going to be about politics. Doesn't matter which side of the political aisle you're on, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're somewhere in between. They're going to be showing you stories that is going to make one side of the political aisle enraged at the other side of the political aisle. It's all tuned in to get you mad and to keep you engaged and to keep you watching. So there's a funny thing that happens when you go outside of the United States. I first experienced this way back in 1992. And when you get outside the United States, even if you're in an English-speaking country, you're not going to be getting bombarded at you domestic news. So you're not going to be finding out about what's really going on unless there's a huge story that has international implications inside the United States. So in a English-speaking country, you'll still be getting news about things happening in the international community, such as wars or things like that, but you're not going to be getting the domestic political stuff unless you are purposely seeking the stuff out. You actually have to get on the computer and go find this stuff and start researching this stuff and looking for this stuff actively. It's not going to come at you passively just by turning on the TV. Because if you're here in the Philippines and you turn on the TV and you pick up news, it's going to be in what I call Taglish, a mixture of Tagalog and English, and you're not going to understand it unless you speak the language, which in some ways is a benefit. Same in Thailand. You turn it on there, it's not in English, it's in Thai, so you have no clue what's going on. Serbia, it's in Serbian. And so you really just can't turn on the TV and get bombarded with these negative news stories that are really going to cause you stress, because you're going to get mad about it. Whatever side you're on, you're going to be like, yes, we have to win, or no, we have to stop these people. And you've got all of the stuff that's come out of the Supreme Court in the United States over the last few weeks that's got everybody riled up on every side of the aisle, whether they like it or they're against it. I, unfortunately, because of the nature of my job, I have to keep tuning into what's happening with the courts. But other than that, I don't seek out to find out what's happening domestically. I find out from my friends when they're complaining about it when I call them. So, and you will speak to them less and less frequently because, again, you're overseas, you're on different time zones, so you're just not going to be inundated with this stuff.
It's too late not to let it go, and that's why I wish you the best and say goodbye. You start to get dressed and then we cry, 'cause we both know it's gonna hurt.
So the second thing is dealing with people. So when you are abroad, and this is my anecdotal experience, the people that you deal with are either going to be expats or they're going to be locals, or some sort of tourist, I suppose. But if we lump them into those two categories, if I'm dealing with local Filipinos and I'm talking to them, they don't care what's happening politically for the most part in the United States. That's not what they discuss with me. What they discuss with me is, what's it like living in the United States? And have you been, got an airplane flying over, have you been to this state? Have you done this thing in the United States? That's what they're interested in. They're not interested in, you know, the stuff that everybody in America is fighting over. So you don't deal with that stuff with them. And even internationally, they're going to be much more internationally in tuned than most Americans are and know what's happening in the rest of the world in very broad strokes. You might occasionally get someone asking you about that, but really that's not what their focus is. They're focused on, what do you think about the Philippines? Have you tried this food? Your life here, things that are going on here, and just lifestyle issues back in the United States, rather than the stuff that gets everybody worked up and all stressed up. And again, you really have to go and search for that. When you're dealing with expats, or when I'm dealing with expats, you know, when you first meet them, it's kind of like, where are you from? Where am I from? We talk about life here in the Philippines. When I was in Thailand, we talk about, you know, our lives in Thailand, or where all you've been and what's going on. But we really did not get into conversations about, you know, what was happening back in the United States politically or domestically or even internationally about things that get everybody all riled up, because we're tuned out. We don't care. We turn on the TV, we don't understand what they're saying. You actually have to seek that information out. And if you don't seek that information out, and you go a month without listening to all that, and also the next topic I'm going to talk about, you find out how much more stress-free your life is when you're not thinking about all of that crap. All right, the third issue is you get in the United States bombarded all of the time with advertising. You pick up your mail, there's advertising. You pick up the television and turn it on, you're bombarded with advertising. Advertising, advertising, advertising. Now, it's not that in other countries they don't do advertising. They do. But I would say 90%, I'm in the Philippines, it's in English, people speak English here, but still I'd say 80, maybe 90% of any advertising that I see is gonna be in Tagalog. I don't speak Tagalog. So their advertising makes zero impressions on me. It's just white noise in the background. So again, I'm not being inundated with that. And I guess the other thing is I'm not wanting to spend any money because I'm not being advertised to and shown something I need to go spend my hard-earned money on. So getting out of that advertising system where you're bombarded all the time and you actually understand what it is, and hearing about all the crap that's happening domestically, just those two things right there, they really take away your stress, and you really start to notice it. I started noticing it the first month when I was abroad in Albania, that you're just not thinking about this stuff anymore, and that I would actually have to go look to find out what was happening. Was America even still there, basically? So just interesting points about when you go overseas, about how the stuff that you're seeing in your daily life and you're talking about at the water cooler at work, that these things really aren't improving your life, because most of them really you can't do anything about other than get mad about.
To say bye, baby, bye. I'll be, you'll be, yeah, we'll be fine.
So finally, on that note, the big reason why you should check out of Western society when you go abroad and stop researching and looking back on what's going on is because, quite frankly, the West is insane. The issues that they are talking about are so first world, they so do not matter to the rest of the world. And if you were to talk about these current events, political issues, and I'm talking about more lifestyle issues, than how much taxes or whatever you should pay, is that the rest of the world would think you're an idiot if you tried to add that legislation into them. Other than a bunch of places in Western Europe that think they can save the world somehow by destroying their own countries. It's just, it's insane the garbage that is being talked about in social media all the time, on the news all the time, and about how irrelevant it is to 90% of the world's population. And once you've checked out from that Western society and you're living amongst a different population, I promise you that you really, really, really will be a happier person and have less stress. The people that I see abroad that are expats, and there are plenty of expats that are just grumpy people, they are still tuned in to the hamster wheel of what's going on in the United States, not because they're bombarded with it, because they're actively seeking it out. They're actually looking for that information about what's going on. They're still actively a part of that debate, even though they've escaped it.
You start to get
So those are my observations about when you are outside of the West and you get to, in my case, the Philippines and Asia, that you're not constantly bombarded with this negativity that's weighing you down and is adding to the stress that you have back in your life in the United States. Of course, you could probably check out of some of that stuff in the United States too, but it's much, much easier when you're not there at all.